Eastern Africa has experienced heavy rain in recent weeks with flooding in Kenya, Tanzania and Burundi. About 100,000 people have been displaced or otherwise affected in each country, with reported deaths in these countries rising significantly alongside damage to farmland and infrastructure. There are also fears that large areas of standing water could give rise to outbreaks of waterborne diseases. Here's a report.
The raging floods were just getting started. The deluge had already caused significant damage and death. This is Mau Mahiu in Nakuru County, Kenya. Over 40 people are reported to have died after a dam burst, washing away houses and cutting off a road, with rescuers digging through debris to find survivors. From the north of Kenya to the south and the coast, rains have been wreaking havoc in the nation that have even caught the authorities off guard. Monday's dam collapse raises the total death toll over the March-May wet season to 120, as heavier than usual rainfall pounds East Africa, compounded by the El Nino weather pattern. The Kenyan President, William Ruto, convened an emergency meeting calling for forceful evacuation of vulnerable residents.
The rains have been truly a blessing to us as a nation. We have seen a lot of turnaround because of the rains, but also we have the challenge now of floods in different areas, and therefore it is important for us to be proactive in terms of what interventions can we make.
Kenya's neighbor, Tanzania, is no better. Flash floods in the country have resulted in over 150 deaths and 236 injuries, along with extensive infrastructure damage, as heavy rainfall has affected many parts of East Africa, triggering floods and landslides. In Kinondoni, one of 5 districts in Tanzania's capital city of Dar es Salaam, many roads were flooded and residents had to splash their way across the river.
I call upon my fellow Tanzanians, especially the flood victims, to make sure they evacuate immediately in all areas which are affected by floods. And this is not just to those residents living alongside the Msimbazi Basin, but to all those who are living near the river channel and flooded areas in the country. They shouldn't wait until the government comes and forces them to move out.
Burundi also had its fair share of disaster. Inhabitants of Gatumba, on the outskirts of Burundi's economic capital, Bujumbura, fled the rising water levels as heavy rainfall swept the tiny nation. Burundi, which the UN says is one of the 20 countries most vulnerable to climate change, has been pelted by almost non-stop rain since September, with its main city of Bujumbura ravaged by floods.
The shelters you see here are poorly constructed. The residents made do with their tarpaulins they had made at home and came to build in this area, which is still dry because the rest is already flooded. The only dry patch of land is here, so you can see that the residents have made do with their tarpaulins to find somewhere to sleep.
Uganda has also suffered heavy storms that have caused riverbanks to burst, with 2 deaths confirmed and several hundred villagers displaced. Late last year, more than 300 people died in rains and floods in Kenya, Somalia and Ethiopia, just as the region was trying to recover from its worst drought in 4 decades that left millions of people hungry. The UN's World Meteorological Organization said in March that the latest El Nino is one of the 5 strongest ever recorded. El Nino is a naturally occurring climate pattern typically associated with increased heat worldwide, leading to drought in some parts of the world and heavy rains elsewhere. Bureau Report, WION, World is One.
For all the latest news, download the WION app and subscribe to our YouTube channel.